Welcome to NCSS Here for You. For over 50 years, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to quality psychosocial services to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. We take our role in the community seriously, and we strive to provide the highest quality services. According to Eric Erickson, a noted developmental psychologist, every person must pass through a series of 8 interrelated stages over the entire life cycle. NCSS provides a continuum of services to meet the needs of individuals who at any point seek assistance. NCSS's purpose is creating a stronger community, one person at a time. Now, let's get to today's show. I'm Joe Halco, Director of Community Relations for Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, and welcome to another episode of NCSS Here for You. Each month on this program, we discuss a human services topic of interest, and we do that with staff from one of the 3 direct services divisions. Our 3 service divisions are Behavioral Health Services, Children, Youth, and Family Services, and Developmental Services. And on occasion, we have a member of our administrative staff discuss topics that affect all of our services. This month's episode is part 2 of a 2-part series titled The Soar Learning Center Earns High Marks. What originally began as a project with 2 students has evolved into an elementary and high school, plus a back-to-school program and summer programming with enrollment ranging between 80 to 90 students. The Soar Learning Center is now the 2nd largest approved independent school and day treatment program in Vermont, which focuses on academic and behavioral needs of all students by providing a structured, predictable, and consistent environment in a small setting. The Soar Learning Center prides itself on having a complete wraparound model that includes academic programming, behavior management, counseling, and homeschool coordination. The Soar Learning Center is part of the Children, Youth, and Family Services Division of Northwestern Counseling and Support Services. Now, last month we discussed what makes the Soar Learning Center different from other alternative educational schools, what therapeutic and clinical services are provided, the vast behavioral services that are available, the transportation provided each school day, the new sensory room, and that the Soar Learning Center recently received CARF accreditation, which validates the high-quality services that are provided each day. To continue our discussion about the Soar Learning Center, I'm pleased to reintroduce my guests, Michael Bombard, Principal, Christy Moffitt, Clinical Service Team Leader, Matt Habadang, Behavior Services Team Leader, and Gary Gubb Thompson, Transportation Team Leader. I'd like to welcome all of you back to the program again this month.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Now, to begin with, how would you describe a typical Soar Learning Center student?
I think at the heart of the answer to that question is that there really isn't a typical student. They all bring their own unique set of background and circumstances with them when they come to the school. In general, the things that lead kids to SOAR are a combination usually of home issues, community issues, and school issues. How those play out and how they combine for each kid is a little bit different, and there's usually unique factors to each one. But kids that come to SOAR typically have things going on in all 3 of those domains.
Mm-hmm. And that certainly is what makes the jobs that all of you do so challenging.
Yeah, I mean that's one of our big tasks is to just analyze that, try to learn, because a lot of times we don't necessarily know everything that has gone on with the kids that we work with. Mm-hmm. So to learn what happened, to see where they're coming from, and then work to instill a new set of skills and get them to identify some new coping strategies that can address the issues that brought them there, home, school, community, whatever it may be.
And I agree with Matt, although what usually, almost always, gets a student referred to the SOAR Learning Center are struggles in the school environment. Just having some difficulty making it work for them in a traditional classroom environment. We generally don't have referrals from the community or the home. It generally comes through the public school system.
Okay. And how many vans transport students, and what type of training do the drivers need who do this transportation each day?
Currently, we are running 14 routes daily, morning and afternoon. We have intensive trainings for the drivers. The first thing they start with is a Type 2 school bus endorsement required through the state. So they have to go through a physical. They have to go through an 8-hour bus clinic like the big bus drivers do. And they also have to go and pass a van driving test, road test. So that's the first training they have to do. We also require that they do handle with care, the verbal part of it with Matt and Christy. They also have to attend defensive driving in the classroom at least once, and then yearly through NetSmart. They have to, every 2 years, do a CPR and first aid certification. And recently, we had an autism training for our drivers that they requested so they could better understand the children on the van. We also do their NetSmart trainings, and we have monthly meetings, and sometimes we invite Matt and Christy and Jesse Taylor to come in and talk to our drivers about the students that they are transporting.
I think it's also important to note, Joe, that we are, currently anyway, the only alternative independent school to provide our own transportation. And I think that's an advantage for us because there's a uniformity of training and it's reoccurring, and we have more control over our driving, and we have found that we feel that's the safest way to go, and also it's actually less expensive than transporting children in taxi cabs, as a number of other alternative schools do. So there's we feel it's more safe and it's less expensive to the public schools.
In addition to that, I would say that by providing our transportation for SOAR, a lot of the students that come to our school have struggled with truancy issues and getting to school and attendance, and having our own transportation available has really helps that and alleviates maybe some battles at home for the parents, and allows us, if a student misses the van, we have like a freebie ride, so we'll go out occasionally and make sure that they get to school. So it's really helped to improve their attendance at school as well.
And then just to back up to, I know one of the things that all of you said last month was that really when you look at the full school day, it really doesn't begin when they get dropped off at SOAR, but it begins the moment that they actually get on the van, and the learning experience and the whole day begins to evolve at that point in time up until you drop them off in the evening.
That's right. We consider the vans an extension of the school.
A lot of students have made really strong relationships and very positive relationships with some of our van drivers, and they look forward to the van in the morning, picking them up, a smiling face, someone to greet them, and and that same face picks them up at the end of the day. So that consistency is really important for these kids.
Now, what are some of the highlights from the past school year that validate the success of the program?
Well, there were a number of highlights this year that we're very proud of. First and foremost, as we mentioned the last time we were here, we received our CARF accreditation for our day treatment and nonviolent practice services. And it was the highest accreditation possible, 3 years. And as you pointed out, Joe, that just validates the hard work and the quality of the services that we provide. In addition to the academic services, the actual treatment services are of high quality as well. We built a new playground this year. A lot of the fundraising was done by SOAR staff and a generous contribution from NCSS, but it was really heartening to watch how staff who felt students really needed a new playground fundraised on their own, and we're able to set up some activities and events that allowed us to contribute to the building of our own playground. And I know a number of staff feel that play is very important to students, and it's a way for them to act out problems on the playground, solve problems together with kids, and so we felt that it was time to put that in place. We really didn't have a playground to speak of, so that was a highlight.
Yeah.
What would
I would say, in addition, we graduated all of the seniors last year, our senior class. All of those students graduated. I think it was 2 or 3. And we also had, I believe, 12 or 13 students transition last year at the end of the year or during the course of their school year back to their sending school. And those statistics and those numbers are always, you know, really validating for staff and for students, you know, around what the kind of work that we do there when we are able to, you know, send kids back to their sending school and allow them to reintegrate into their communities. I think that speaks volumes to the work that the staff does and the work that the kids do as well.
I agree. That's our primary goal, is to transition students back to their public school system.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think there perhaps is a misunderstanding that, you know, students would come to SOAR and they would be at SOAR their entire academic life, and that your goal truly is to get them in a place where they can be re-entered back into the public school system that they came from.
That's right, Joe. Over time, I think more students actually transition back to the public schools and stay at SOAR. Students are able to receive a high school diploma from SOAR. They're also able, by going to SOAR, to receive a diploma from their sending school, but ultimately the real goal is to get them back to the school in their district.
I think it's really important for our students to reintegrate not only to their school but to their community. You know, that's really where their sense of community began, and you know, we want to be able to help them build the skills so that they can function appropriately and successfully in their true communities, back with their families and their friends and their sending schools. And so it's very important for us, and it's important for most of these kids as well. You know, they love being able to transition back and take part in some of the athletics, or you know, have opportunities to go to proms. And you know, a lot of the sending schools are really good in allowing some level of access to our students during their time at SOAR, but really fully integrating back into that community. They get a more full access to kind of the day-to-day privileges of and rights of being a public school student.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm sorry. The highlight for transportation is we traveled over 285,000 miles last year without any crashes, any incidents with the vehicles, which, you know, our #1 goal is safety, and we achieved that. So
that is
great.
amazing.
Certainly is. It's good. And we also hired a music therapist, and we also built a low elements adventure-based ropes course. We find that when we're getting back to the original question, the typical student of SOAR, and Matt was pointing out, there really isn't a typical student, and that is true. So we have to find a variety of ways for them to access their education, either through alternative types of processes, such as working with a teacher on a ropes course, or the music therapist, or it could be a number of things, as Christy mentioned last week, working with a therapist in our sensory room. But there's a variety of ways to work on your behavior and to access your academics, and we look for those.
Yeah, all 3 of our school-based clinicians were trained on the use of the ropes course, so they have been able to integrate that into their social skills peer development groups, where they can take the kids out and do some trust building activities, or different types of activities that are more than just the sit down kind of talk processing. They can get the hands-on experiences of what it's like to really form a team and work as a team, and a lot of really good discussion comes out of that experiential learning, much more than you would get perhaps sitting across from a table and just processing with a group of especially adolescents or younger kids. So it's really added another level of ability to explore different alternatives to kind of just the sit-down talk processing that our kids sometimes are not too keen on. You know, it's not their go-to.
A lot of the skills that we would try to address too are really targeted through the use of the ropes course: communication, cooperation, problem solving in a situation that's a little bit more, you know, physically demanding, frustrating. You know, you have to deal with some of those real-world variables in there, where in a classroom some of those things are a little bit more factored out. But in the ropes course, you have to take them all into account and overcome the obstacle that you're faced with, which is, like Christy said, it's a very good alternative to some of the other methods that we use to work on those skills with the kids.
When you have so many other terrific programs that kids can learn about being responsible, working as teams, things such as the culinary connection.
Oh, yes,
which has been people rave about anything they've ever had from that group. And I think, you know, again, that's another way that you're trying to show kids how to work together as a team. You know, you've got goals, and how do you get there, and that sort of thing as well. So.
Yeah. Good point. We have received very good feedback from about the Culinary Connection from students, parents, and the referring schools.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, speaking of parents, what have parents in sending schools had to say about the Soar Learning Center? You know, when you talk about ongoing feedback, what do you hear?
Well, once a year we put out a family survey to solicit this kind of feedback, in addition to the ongoing feedback that we get. But in this past year, from our surveys, we found that about 83% of parents reported that their child was successful at Soar Learning Center. So that's a really strong statistic. And as Michael had mentioned last time, about 94 to 96% of our parents report that they are satisfied or strongly satisfied with the quality of services received by their children at Soar. So those are kind of the statistics. But on a day-to-day, I think we hear a lot of feedback about you really understand my child, or you know, the small classroom sizes. We get a lot of feedback from parents around that, really feeling very comfortable around the small numbers in the classrooms. We also get a lot of feedback about the comprehensive work that we do, there is a treatment team model that we follow, so the parent is, you know, at those update meetings, the parent has access to the school-based clinician, the homeschool coordinator, the behavior interventionist, the special educator, teachers, you know. So they really, I think parents really appreciate the team approach that we take with kids.
Some of the themes that arise when I talk to parents and sending school case managers and even former students is that one of the things that came up was the good communication that the parents and the sending schools have with us. We meet every 6 weeks regarding that student with the sending school case manager, the parents, and that student's whole team. So every 6 weeks, everyone gets an update about how that student is doing. In addition, the homeschool coordinators frequently call home or send emails to parents just updating them about how their student's day was, and that's very timely. A student could have had have done something positive at 2 o'clock or struggling at 2 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock, 3:30, they're receiving an email from the homeschool coordinator. One of the other things I also hear is that in comparison to schools similar to us, because we're fortunate enough to be in a former elementary school, a lot of people have commented that we just appear like a regular school. It's not so sterile and institutionalized. We have access to a gym and a stage and a kitchen, and kids eat in our like the cafeteria, which was the cafeteria for the former school. So they like that because it's not as stigmatizing for some. They just feel like they're in a regular school. Yeah. And the last theme that sort of emerges that I hear from parents and the schools a lot is that they appreciate our ability to do what it takes to help a student, do whatever it takes, that we'll be willing to take a risk and think outside the box and do something different that may be just individually tailored for what that child needs. So those are the 3 themes that sort of off the top of my head.
I think another thing I hear often a lot, and through homeschool coordination and through those update meetings, is the parents really appreciate the relationships that the kids are able to form and build with many staff, not just their individual counselor or their classroom teacher, with their special educators, with a handful of BIs, with administration, or and that really, I think, is at the foundation of the program that we run, is about building relationships with these kids and making that connection. And so oftentimes I hear parents saying, like, it's so good that they have that one person that they know at school that they can go to. So that, I think that's really good feedback.
Now, summer programming is also a very important component to what you do. And could you explain the whole rationale of having the summer programming and the outcomes that you see from embarking on that initiative?
Well, I mean, the summer program is essentially an extended school year. So the primary goal of the summer program is academic, to continue their learning, to continue to address the IEP goals that the kids work on throughout the school year, and to continue to make progress, and also to prevent the sort of backsteps that a lot of kids will take over the summertime when they're out of school for 2 or 3 months. But there's also obviously a factor of keeping the behavior services in line, keeping the behavior supports in place, so as well as supporting the academics, their behavior is supported. The relationships that Christy just referred to continue right throughout the summertime. So it's really, I mean, while the main focus of it is academic in nature and keeping the learning going, there's also a piece of keeping behavior stable and keeping relationships stable, and it's that sort of consistency and continuity in the services the kids receive that makes the summer programs really important. It's much more experiential than a typical school year is. It's not the academics that take place are not always in a classroom sort of setting. There's a lot of being in the community, going to museums, going on activities. The high school program in particular does a lot of experiential education, canoeing trips, rock climbing, that is geared around a science curriculum and a PE curriculum. So in addition to really focusing on those academic goals, it's a whole different learning modality that the kids really get into.
Right. It's really critical to maintaining or advancing the academic and behavioral gains that occurred for students during the regular school year. But the bottom line is they're learning, but they're also having fun. And sometimes that can make a subject you might not normally really be attracted to a lot easier to participate in. And what I like is that it is very experiential, it's very hands-on, and the elementary school the summer programs are 4 weeks long, and in the elementary school it's built around themes. For example, 1 week it might be community safety, another week it might be the agricultural industry in Vermont, it might be Lake Champlain and the natural history of the lake. So and the kids have a curriculum set up to address topics about that particular theme. And in the on the high school side, that is sort of a dual, that has a dual component to it. The first component is a very experiential, adventure-based component where during the day the kids participate in activities like rock climbing, canoeing, hiking, but built into that are it's like science courses. There might be some botany involved, or some natural history, or some wildlife biology, and there's also sort of what people would call the soft skills, which are maybe leadership skills, problem-solving skills around these areas, and it's targeted toward building students' self-esteem, because when you look at that rock and how high it is, and you learn how to climb, you might not think you can climb up there, but then with the support of the staff and the encouragement of the other students in your group, you climb that rock and you go, wow, I didn't think I could do that, and I found out that I could. And then what we try to do is transition that to what other areas in your life you might think might be afraid to face, or it might be a challenge to you and you might back away from them. Can you use this experience as a bridge to transferring this to other areas in your life? And then in the afternoon, it's very career and vocationally based. We place students in jobs. They work right in the community. They have business folks or co-workers serve as mentors on the job. They earn a wage. And one of the really cool things about the high school summer program is you can get a half credit for physical education, a half credit for the vocational piece, and a half credit for science. So you could actually earn 1.5 credits, plus you're earning money as well. So terrific. It's a great package for high school students.
It's terrific.
I think also, too, the summer program just allows for a different level of relationship building with these kids than what can happen, obviously, in a classroom. It's very different to rock climb together versus sitting in a classroom, and that relationship really does blossom. And I think, too, a lot of staff are doing activities for the first time, too, so there might be there might be opportunities for the students to teach the staff. You know, if a staff has never been rock climbing and a student has been before, that kind of reciprocal learning is really powerful, you know, and kids and students take pride in that, and the fact that they're able to help staff, and so it does deepen that that relationship between staff and students. It's really nice. Lots of smiles and laughter in the summer program, which is always nice to see.
But you know, the thing that you said, though, the nicest part of it is the fact that it's a way of learning, and you keep them moving in the right direction, and yet it's not like it's mundane. You know what I mean? Sitting in a classroom, trying. So you've got them immersed and involved in a lot of activities that maybe, quite frankly, they wouldn't be on their own, which I think is a win-win for everyone involved. Well, it's hard to believe, but our time again is up. I keep saying every month that we could sit here endlessly and talk about the terrific work that the Soar Learning Center is doing. But quite frankly, we have exhausted our time again this month. So, with that being said, I do want to thank my special guests, Michael Bombard, Christy Moffett, Matt Habedank, and Gub Thompson, for being on the show today and sharing their insights on the success of the Soar Learning Center. They've had an opportunity to explain many of the outstanding services that make a difference in the lives of the students. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for spending time with us again this month. I'm Joe Halco, and I'll be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You. This has been another episode of NCSS Here for You. We hope that you found today's discussion informative and educational. For over 50 years, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to quality psychosocial services to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. Thanks once again for tuning in this month. NCSS's purpose remains creating a stronger community, one person at a time.